But no, they have a reputation for being somewhat promiscuous, and it's because of all the pent up abstinence kind of thing, and they want to get out and explore and sow their wild oats and stuff like that. So in an abstinence based kind of sexual education, did you find that was happening also?
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, and we didn't, the dangerous part of that is now have all that pent up energy and no real idea what to do with it
Yeah,
and no way to safely exercise it. So that
yeah.
was kind of like a release in erotica. Thankfully, like that was one of the releases I had. Another release was I did end up in like some abusive dynamics and relationships because I didn't know how to act on these desires and urges safely.
Oh, you were in abusive relationships and you weren't aware that they were abusive because of your lack of sex education?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
It's go ahead, Ray Ray.
I see like a lot of parallels with you, with me being like a slut and being very sexually open because I was raised the same way where you don't have sex, like you don't talk about it, you don't do any of that stuff. And so I didn't have the outlet either of like, this is okay. I want to fuck all the time. I want to have this person. I want to have this. And so I did it like you all over the place with different people, randoms, like very unsafely. Like, you know, there were years where I didn't use protection with anyone. Like, there were lots of things that I should have been doing that I didn't do. And so I see parallels with you and myself where we didn't get the education that we needed, we didn't get the outlet that we needed. And so we had all these urges and things we wanted to do, but we didn't know how to do them safely.
Right.
So okay. So then, Letty, I was confused then because I thought that when you're writing in high school, this is like the avenue you had, but were you were you having sex and being sexually active in high school as well as writing?
So it was towards the end of high school that I first became sexually active. I think that it sort of took the place of writing for me at one point. It was like a year and a half, like limbo between high school and college. I took a break after high school. Then I entered into a relationship to explore some desires and urges, and it just did not go well.
I
I think,
mean, are you comfortable talking about how it didn't go well?
well, it was I really wanted to be in a power exchange dynamic, which is where one person is dominant, one person is submissive, right?
Okay.
However, I didn't have any sort of idea how to do that safely. So I met someone who was very dominant,
Okay.
but we didn't really practice in a way that would be considered BDSM. So BDSM is all about consent, it's all about risk
Yeah.
awareness, it's all about negotiation. What I
Okay.
did was none of that. It was just a power control dynamic, where he had almost complete control over me, like financially, like he always knew where I was. It was very controlling, and I thought that's what I.
Whoa.
So, because as a young woman, who'd never experienced any of this before, and who has these urges to try to do this power dynamic and to experiment with masochism and sadism,
Yeah.
not know how to act on them safely, it was exciting to me still. Like even it was exciting to me to try all of these new things with him, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that there were so many abusive and narcissistic behaviors that had gone unchecked and ignored.
So you knew even though you weren't completely educated on sex, you knew that like, hey, there's this like submissive kind of thing out here that I really want to try. And you just thought it was being submissive in all forms of everything, right? Like totally just being like subjugated to a person on every level. And then you comes to find out, when you really research it and how it works, it's like, no, there's a time and place for this, and it's very well organized and put together. So how did you did you just wake up one day and you're like, all right, I got this thing all backwards, really messed this one up? And then how did you get out of that? And then what kind of prompted you? Were you just kind of fed up with like how you're being treated? And then what kind of prompted you to get out of that?
So I think after a while, it becomes almost unbearable to be in that situation, but it's also very hard to break free from it because it's what you know and it's what you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Um, but there came a point. I actually remember exactly when it was. It was one of our mutual friends came over for a party, and she had seen the way that he was treating me. And she spoke out to the entire group, the entire party, when he had left the room, that like it's not okay for him to be treating me that way, and that everybody needs to stand up and say something if he does that again. And I was like, wow, like, okay. So I started thinking about it more, and that night, a lot of stuff happened, but it ended up with me. Well, I can go into it a little bit, but it ended up with me finding him in the kitchen fucking someone else. And it was supposed to be like I was okay with that because I'm submissive, and I, you know, whatever he does is okay. And I think what my friend had said earlier that day, and just having been in this relationship for so long and not feeling fulfilled in some ways, but also starving in other ways, I just left. I ran. I literally left the door and just started walking down the street. I didn't even
Yeah.
have shoes on. And from there, he still had tried to get me back. There was some stalking, but I was able to just break free. There,
Wow.
I don't think it was a clean break by any means. I
Yeah.
don't think it ever is, but
Yeah, that's that, but that's every relationship really.